guys. Good afternoon. Good Thursday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports, and I do not owe Cam Heyward an apology. Maybe you do. And if so, I'm going to have some fun at your expense. Not in any kind of told you so or obnoxious way, but just to remind everyone of who this is, why he's so important, and why, if we're telling it like it is, he was right to demand, which is kind of what he did, the contract extension that he got. You know, Cam is a special player, but he's a special player in a way that most unfortunately not everyone can appreciate in the moment. To say that Cam had a great game right after the game is done, you almost need to see a sack, a swatted fumble, maybe one of those big bare arms, pass defense or something. But for the most part, you're going to need to see film. You're going to need to see how many guys he took on. You're going to need to see how he shed blocks. You're going to need to see how he'd create some big hole for, let's say, an inside linebacker or even one of those stunting outside linebackers to go blowing through. That's the stuff that he's doing right now. Cam is wrecking opponents. I can approximate this to a cartoon character. He's like a cartoon character with two big paws right now, just eating people up front. That's what you're getting out of him. And while the defensive line overall has been very good, none of that happens without 97. I say that with respect to Keanu Benton, who's been very good and who's been the guy who's out there most often with Cam when they go with just two, to Larry Ogunjobi, to Isaiah Loudermilk, to Montravius Adams. These guys have all gotten the job done. They've actually surprised me a little bit, to be honest, with the depth that they've shown. But everything is happening up there. They know that, they embrace that, and it starts with their captain. This is what Cam had to say on that subject today over on the South Side.
Well, I think a lot of onus is on us. We take every battle personally. It's not like we're running away from it. If you want to run the ball on us, it has to come through us. It's just the great way the group rolls. We have great depth there. So when guys step on the field, there should be a drop-off. We challenge each other, play in and play out. We want to be on the field. And if you're on the field, you got to produce.
He's actually being modest there. There's all I'm hearing around that room on a regular basis is that everything is starting up front. The guys in the secondary, specifically Dante Jackson, mentioned to me, everything's happening with what they're bringing because we don't have to blitz. We don't have to send extra bodies up there. We, the secondary guys, don't have to be up at the line of scrimmage. Even though Minkah Fitzpatrick has a lot of tackles, Minkah hasn't, at least not very often, gone all the way up to the line. Remember when Minkah used to have to be part of the run support? Remember when all we would do is judge the inside linebackers on whether or not they could tackle or whether or not they could even just help out on run support? Notice we're not talking about that. And we're now past the point, my friends, where we're talking about, facing some kind of lousy opponents or whatever. The Chargers came here with a real live running game and with a real live running back in J.K. Dobbins. You saw what he could do in that first half, and then you didn't. Why? Because the defensive line got it together. I can't emphasize this like with bold, big letters how important these guys have been. But within that, how important 97 has been. This is why he got paid. This is why he's a Steeler for life. And this is why you don't doubt him. Even if you spent this much of your summer doubting him, say you're sorry. When we come back, Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Welcome back. Joined now by Chris Halleck, our Steelers beat writer at DK Pittsburgh Sports. He's over on the south side. And Chris, talking about the defensive line, talking about the defensive front, I also don't want to be guilty of oversimplifying things. They're not all that's going well, are they?
No, but I mean, this defense is playing really,
I know.
really
You got to
good.
start there. You got to start there.
I mean, the defensive line is just mauling, especially this past Sunday. They were just mauling guys up front. And it wasn't just Cam Heyward. I mean, Cam Heyward, when the Chargers are stupid enough to put him one-on-one with a tight end multiple times, I mean, you're going to pay the price for it. But Keanu Benton won several blocks. Isaiah Loudermilk looked really good in run defense.
Yep.
Larry Ogunjobi was solid. I mean, I know Cam Heyward talked about it. It really was a group effort, and that is ultimately what's going to benefit this defense the most, because then that opens the things up for the second and third level to make their jobs just that much easier.
And before we get to those guys, I have to keep fixating on Cam here, because Cam's one of those guys I feel like, and I know he feels like, hasn't gotten enough credit over the course of his wonderful career, a career that by the time he's done, we're going to have him at least in the conversation for Canton. Doesn't mean he's going to make it, or doesn't mean I'm making any kind of prediction here or whatever, but he's going to be somebody that you talk about for Canton, even if only on longevity. However, it's so tough to put it into numbers, isn't it? I mean, when you use a word, Chris, like mauling, okay? And I'm just picturing Cam's gigantic arms and those ridiculously huge hands just mangling humans. And it doesn't even necessarily look like there's a method to it, but there is in every case, isn't there?
Yes, and the thing is that Cam's game is built on brute strength, which is one of the reasons why I think he can age well. But he does it in multiple ways. He can just absolutely shove a tight end 5 yards backward. He also, for a long time has done this one-armed shiv where he will literally just hold an offensive lineman back with a straight one arm. That frees him up to knock down passes, to do whatever else. And there just aren't that many guys who have that. Yes, there just aren't that many guys who have that, not only strength but technical ability to be able to pull that stuff off. And shoot, man, this past week he made a tackle through a tackle. I mean,
the best video that I've seen, and this wasn't until more than 24 hours later, was Cam had 2 or 3 Chargers on him. Okay, I don't even know why. Like, why would they want to have 2 or 3 people on him when anyway? So he's doing this, and he's reaching through, kind of like what you're describing here, and he gets something. Patrick Queen is behind him. Queen is looking for something that he can do. Okay, yeah. He's looking for something to keep himself occupied, and the play is made not by Queen, but Queen looks forward to Cam and just goes like this. Like, I could get used to this, man. I'm all right playing right behind you, pal. I loved it. And I wish more people could appreciate it, because then you don't have a discussion like the one that we were having this summer as to what his value is.
Exactly. And to that note about Patrick Queen, by the way, Peyton Wilson said something yesterday very, very similar. He's just like, this is the best defensive line I've ever played by. Now, granted,
he played in college, yeah.
Right? But he's just saying, like, it just makes my job that much easier. And it's true. I mean, like, you're like, right now, I remember having to watch the film, and whenever I did my most recent Chalk Talk on DK Pittsburgh Sports, I pretty much just had to credit Patrick Queen with his gap integrity. That's not what Patrick Queen is known for. But if that's all that he's having to really do because the defensive line is playing so well, then you've got a really, really good guy who can just make sure you're filling up the gaps because the defensive line's winning.
I also know that they're free to pass a lot of credit around, and Cam is as well, to other phases. There's been good coverage that's led to better pressure. Obviously, the OLBs are getting the job done. I mean, they pretty much took over the second half. TJ and Nick Herbig did. The inside linebackers we've talked about, Patrick Queen showed up like Patrick Queen on Sunday. when you look ahead to this game coming up Sunday in Indianapolis that you and I are going to be covering, Chris, it really is going to be one I think that's going to take everybody, because you've got a couple of guys that can tote the ball for Indianapolis.
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan Taylor specifically is a very, very good runner. Listen, the Colts offense isn't necessarily scaring a whole bunch of people. But, okay, so here's
That's mostly because of Anthony Richardson, but okay.
Right.
Okay.
And now,
you got to stop the run.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the main reasons why the Colts are near the top of the league in yards per play is because of their ability to scare defenses off with Jonathan Taylor, and then Anthony Richardson can, when he is actually completing a pass, can hit them over the top. And so, but at the same time, this is an offense that is averaging 21 and a half minutes of in time of possession. They're not holding on to the football. And so if the Steelers can stifle Jonathan Taylor in that running game, then it's pretty much cake, as long as the offense takes care of just average business.
Okay, but in that context then, or if you're the Steelers, do you do something that you didn't even do against the Chargers and try to stack the line? Do you go a bunch of people in the box, or do you just say we're going to continue trusting the defensive line as it is with the numbers that they have? You see what I'm saying here? Because they did have to adjust to what LA was doing. The Chargers did have some early good runs from Dobbins.
They did. And I think part of that isn't necessarily the fact that, like, the longest run that J.K. Dobbins had was 13 yards, and there were only 10 players on defense on that play. That was just a personnel mishap. That kind of now.
This is true. I forgot about that.
Now, Mike Tomlin said, like, that kind of stuff can't happen. That's JV stuff, and he's absolutely right. But at the same time, it's like, if they just take care of their P's and Q's, or X's and O's, whatever you want to say, if they take care of that stuff, they should be able. Now, granted, the Colts have some really good players on the offensive line. Jonathan Taylor's a very good runner. They are preparing for Jonathan Taylor, and by the way, Anthony Richardson can run too. So they have to account for all of that stuff up front. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to load the box with 8 guys every single time, but you're right. When the defensive line is winning the way that they are, you don't necessarily feel like, okay, we have to overload to, and then possibly be hit deep because Anthony Richardson can throw the ball at 8,000 feet.
When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Welcome back. It's time for our J1Q segment. And for that, we go to Clayton in Oxford, Ohio.
Morning, DK. Big fan of the show. Hey, I just wanted to ask, well, first, I really appreciated Broderick's response when he was asked about if this is the offense they've been searching for, and he immediately responded no. And he said they're still kind of figuring it out week to week, and it shows. I think they're more confident in every single game they play. Do you think they're finally finding the components to have a sustainable offense for the future? Because it seems like they're getting better week to week. Okay, thanks, DK. Appreciate it.
Whew. I could answer that the same way that Broad did, and I was there, and I liked that answer as well. He said no. And the main reason for that, Clayton, and I'm not going to be one to just nitpick about this or that, including the offense, even though the offense has been obviously behind the defense, might stay behind the defense for all we know, all season long. I have not liked their first down performance, and I am supported on this by the statistics. The Steelers rank 31st out of 32 teams in first down yardage. Now, a lot of that's because the play calling's been willfully conservative, meaning that Arthur Smith wants to pound the opponent early. He wants to wear them down, and the best way to do that is with a first down run. However, there's nothing in the books that says you can't have a first down run that's longer than a yard or two. And that begins, I believe, with the line. It's also partly because Jaylen Warren hasn't been available the way you'd want him to be. I think that would have offered Najee Harris more options, more latitude, because Jaylen creates a different type of threat. But you know what? There are other ways around this. It's one thing for me to say, listen, Broderick and all of the offensive linemen just need to be tougher and have a bigger push. That's also a little bit lazy. I'd like to see some screen passes. I wouldn't mind seeing a first down throw over the middle. How about a first down shot, deep shot? I think you have to do something that's a little bit different. You don't want to keep putting yourself into 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 9. Now, this team's been pretty good on third downs, and it's actually been okay on second downs. First down has been a problem, and I know that these guys are talking about it. I know that they're a little bit frustrated by it, maybe even a little bit puzzled by it. So if there's one thing I think to look for Sunday in Indianapolis, Clayton, more than anything, it would be how do they handle the very first down. If they can get to that point, this offense can steamroll a little bit more regularly as opposed to just in the second half or just in the fourth quarter. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone checking out the new Daily Shot. We'll be back with another one tomorrow that looks ahead to these guys and how the Steelers will handle Indianapolis.